The meeting room aboard the U.E.'s Harmony felt cold, despite the perfect temperature controls. Ambassador John Carter sat across from the Zephyrian delegate, watching the alien's forearms gesture wildly as it spoke. The creature looked like a giant mantis crossed with a spider, standing nearly 8 feet tall with compound eyes that never seemed to blink. "Your species is nothing more than children playing with toys," Klixvar said through his translator. "Device." His voice came out as a series of clicks and hisses that the machine turned into perfect English. "You have been in space for less than 200 years. We have ruled this sector for over 3,000. John kept his face calm, but inside he felt his anger growing. 3 years of talks. 3 years of watching human colonies get attacked while they tried to find peace. Behind Klixvar stood 2 more Zephyrians, their weapons clearly visible. Despite this being a diplomatic meeting, Captain Lisa Morgan stood near the wall, her hand resting on her sidearm. She had been John's security chief for 5 years now, and he could read her body language like a book. She was ready for trouble. Her dark eyes never left the aliens, and her jaw was set tight. "We are not children," John said carefully. "We are a young species, yes, but we learn quickly. All we want is peace between our peoples." Klixvar made a sound that might have been laughter. "Peace? You speak of peace while you steal our ancient territories. Those worlds have belonged to the Coalition for longer than your species has existed. Those worlds were empty when we found them," John replied. "Your people abandoned them centuries ago. We found no signs of current habitation." "Abandonment does not mean surrender of claim," another Zephyrian spoke up. This one was smaller but wore more decorations on his chitinous armor. "By galactic law, those worlds remain ours." John had heard this argument 100 times. The Zephyrians claimed ownership of dozens of worlds based on ancient territorial rights, even though they had not visited most of them in hundreds of years. Meanwhile, human colonists had built homes, farms, and cities on these planets. "Then, let us discuss compensation," John offered. "Perhaps we can work out a trade agreement. Resources from the colonies in exchange for permanent settlement rights." "Compensation?" Klixvar's mandibles clicked rapidly. "You offer to pay us for what is already ours. This is insulting." Lisa shifted slightly, and John caught her eye. He gave her a small shake of his head. "Not yet. The negotiations had been going like this for months. Every offer the humans made was rejected. Every compromise was seen as weakness. The Zephyrian Coalition wanted the colonies, and they wanted the humans gone from this part of space entirely." On the main screen, Admiral Kevin Brooks appeared via quantum communication from Earth. The older man's gray hair and lined face showed the stress of the past 3 years. Behind him, John could see part of the Joint Chiefs meeting room. "Ambassador Carter," Brooks said formally. "What is the Coalition's position?" John looked at Klixvar, who had turned to face the screen. The alien's compound eyes reflected the light strangely, making it hard to read any expression. "The position is simple," Klixvar announced. "Humanity will withdraw from all colonies beyond your home system. You will restrict your activities to the Sol system only. You have no right to expand into space that belongs to older, wiser species." The room went quiet. John felt his heart skip a beat. This was not a negotiation anymore. This was a demand for complete surrender. "That is unacceptable," Admiral Brooks said from the screen. "Those colonies house over 50 million human beings. They are our people, with families and lives built over generations. Then you should have thought of that before you stole our worlds," the smaller Zephyrian said. Lisa's hand tightened on her weapon. Around the room, the other human diplomats and guards were all tense. This was spiraling out of control fast. "Surely, we can find a middle ground," John tried again. "What if we limited expansion to certain sectors, or established joint colonies?" "No," Klixvar's voice was flat and final. "You will leave, or you will be removed." Admiral Brooks leaned forward. On the screen, "Are you threatening war against humanity?" "We are stating reality," Klixvar replied. "The coalition fleet numbers over 3,000 vessels. Your entire military has perhaps 400 ships. This is not a threat. This is mathematics." John saw something flicker in Admiral Brooks' eyes. Something that looked almost like satisfaction, which made no sense given the circumstances. "How long?" John asked quietly. "What?" Klixvar's head tilted. "How long do we have to consider your ... offer?" The three Zephyrians spoke among themselves in their own language, a series of rapid clicks and whistles. Finally, Klixvar turned back. 48 hours, he said. 12, the smaller one corrected. "They have wasted enough of our time." Klixvar nodded. 12 hours. "Give us your answer then, or we will take action to reclaim our territory." The screen flickered as Admiral Brooks prepared to speak, but John cut him off with a gesture. "We will need to consult with our government," John said formally. 12 hours is very little time for such an important decision. "It is enough time to say yes or no," Klixvar replied. "Choose wisely, Ambassador. The coalition has been patient long enough." The three aliens filed out of the room, their footsteps echoing on the metal floor. When the doors sealed behind them, the humans were left in silence. Admiral Brooks spoke. "First, John, get everyone off that ship and back to the shuttle. We need to talk." "Understood, sir." John looked around the room at his team. These were good people, career diplomats who had spent years trying to build bridges between species. Now they all looked like they had been sentenced to death. As they gathered their materials, Lisa moved close to John. "Sir," she said quietly. "What's Protocol 7? John stopped packing his briefcase. "Where did you hear that term?" "I caught part of a coded transmission earlier. Something about recommending Protocol 7 if talks failed." John was quiet for a long moment. In all his years as a diplomat, he had heard whispers about classified military protocols. Things that were only discussed in the highest levels of government. "I don't know," he said finally. "But I have a feeling we're about to find out." 20 minutes later, the human shuttle detached from the U's Harmony and began its journey back to Earth. Behind them, the Zephyrian fleet waited like dark clouds on the horizon, ready to bring the storm. The emergency meeting began before Ambassador John Carter's shuttle even docked at Earth Station Alpha. President Helen Davis sat at the head of the conference table, her face grave as she watched the reports coming in from across human space. The Zephyrian fleet was moving, and they had less than 10 hours to decide humanity's fate. "Ladies and gentlemen," President Davis said, "we all know why we're here. The aliens have given us an ultimatum. Abandon our colonies or face total war. General Martinez, what are our options?" General Paul Martinez stood and activated the holographic display. Blue dots representing human ships appeared scattered across the projected star map, vastly outnumbered by the red dots of the coalition fleet. "Ma'am, on paper it looks hopeless," Martinez began. "The Zephyrians have 3,000 combat vessels. Our official fleet registry shows 412 active ships. In a straight fight, we would lose badly. But this won't be a straight fight," Admiral Brooks interrupted from his seat. "Paul, show them the real numbers." Martinez nodded and entered a new code. The display changed dramatically. Hundreds of new blue dots appeared, spread throughout human space in hidden locations. "This is classified at the highest levels," Martinez continued. "For the past 15 years, we have been building what we call the Ghost Fleet. These are ships that officially don't exist, crewed by personnel who are legally dead." Dr. Susan Collins, head of the Advanced Weapons Division, leaned forward. "We've been preparing for this day since first contact with alien species. Every border skirmish, every diplomatic incident, every piece of alien technology we could get. Our hands-on has been studied and improved upon." President Davis looked around the table. How is this possible? Congress would never approve such spending. Congress doesn't know, Admiral Brooks replied. This operation has been funded through black budgets and classified military spending for decades. We told them we were building defensive platforms and research stations. We just didn't mention what kind of research. The president was quiet for a moment. Show me what we're really dealing with. Dr. Collins activated another display. Every alien weapon system has weaknesses. The Zephyrians rely on energy shields that can be disrupted by specific frequencies. Their ships are built for traditional combat, not the kind of warfare humans excel at. What kind of warfare is that? President Davis asked. The kind that doesn't follow rules, General Martinez answered. Ma'am, aliens fight according to ancient codes of honor. They challenge each other to single combat between ships. They announce their attacks. They give their enemies time to prepare and respond. Humans don't fight that way, Admiral Brooks added. We fight to win, by any means necessary. Colonel Jake Thompson, who had been silent until now, spoke up. The Ghost Fleet has been training for asymmetric warfare. Hit-and-run tactics, psychological operations. We've studied every major Earth conflict from the past 500 years and adapted those lessons for space combat. President Davis turned to Dr. Collins. What about weapons? Surely they have better technology than us? Better? Maybe, but we've been reverse engineering their technology for years. Every piece of wreckage from border incidents, every abandoned alien probe, every crashed ship. We've taken it all apart and put it back together better. Dr. Collins brought up a new display showing weapon schematics. We've developed energy weapons that can pierce their shields, kinetic weapons that their sensors can't track, and biological weapons tailored to specific alien physiologies. Biological weapons? The president looked concerned. Nothing that would affect humans, Dr. Collins assured her. But Zephyrian biology is very different from ours. They're vulnerable to certain chemical compounds that are harmless to us. Admiral Brooks stood up. Ma'am, the aliens think they know what humans are capable of, because they've seen our diplomatic ships and trade vessels. They've never seen what we do when we're fighting for survival. There's something else, Colonel Thompson added. Our psychological profile teams have been studying alien behavior patterns. Most species in the galaxy are hive minds or collective consciousnesses. They don't understand individual thinking and improvisation. What does that mean for us? President Davis asked. It means when we do something unexpected, they can't adapt quickly, Thompson explained. Their entire command structure has to process new information through layers of hierarchy. By the time they figure out what we're doing, we've already moved on to the next phase. General Martinez brought up another display showing colony worlds. We've already begun evacuating non-essential personnel from the outer colonies, but many colonists are refusing to leave. They're volunteers for the local defense forces, Admiral Brooks said. Farmers, miners, teachers. People who have never served in the military but are willing to fight for their homes. President Davis looked at the faces around the table. These were people who had spent their careers serving humanity, and now they were asking her to approve a war that could end their species or elevate them to something the galaxy had never seen. There's one more thing, Dr. Collins said quietly. We've been in contact with other species, races that the Coalition has conquered or threatened. They're watching this situation very carefully. Are they willing to help us? The president asked. Not openly, but they're very interested in seeing if a young species can stand up to the Coalition. If we win, it could change the balance of power in this entire sector of the galaxy. Admiral Brooks checked his watch. Ma'am, we have 8 hours before the deadline. If we're going to activate Protocol 7, we need to start now. President Davis was quiet for a long moment. What exactly is Protocol 7? It's the complete militarization of human space. Brooks replied. Every ship, every station, every colony becomes part of the war effort. We stop pretending to be peaceful explorers and show the galaxy what humans are really capable of. And if we lose, then at least we'll go down fighting, General Martinez said. But ma'am, I don't think we're going to lose. The president looked around the table one more time. Gentlemen, Dr. Collins, you're asking me to bet the survival of our entire species on weapons and tactics that have never been tested in real combat. No, ma'am, Colonel Thompson corrected. We're asking you to bet on the one thing that has never failed humanity throughout our entire history. What's that? Our refusal to give up when someone tries to destroy us. President Davis nodded slowly. Activate Protocol 7, and may God help us all. Across human space, the real war machine began to wake up. Ships that had been disguised as civilian vessels revealed their true nature. Research stations became weapons platforms. Mining operations turned into fortress worlds. The Zephyrians thought they were about to fight a small, weak species. They had no idea they were about to face something that had clawed its way up from the bottom of the food chain and never forgotten how to fight dirty. The galaxy was about to learn what humans meant when they said, "Never again." The 12-hour deadline passed without a response from Earth. Klixvar watched from the bridge of his flagship as the First Fleet moved toward New Austin, a human colony world with over 2 million inhabitants. 400 Zephyrian warships advanced in perfect formation, their weapons charged and shields at full power. Begin the attack, Klixvar ordered. Show these humans what happens when they defy the coalition. The Zephyrian fleet expected to find a handful of human defense ships and maybe some orbital platforms. Instead, they found 30 human vessels waiting in loose formation around the planet. The ships looked small and unremarkable compared to the mighty coalition dreadnoughts. Only 30 ships? Klixvar's second-in-command clicked with amusement. This will be over quickly. Commander Alex Stone stood on the bridge of the UE's Defiance, watching the alien fleet approach. His ship was one of the Ghost Fleet vessels, officially destroyed in a training accident 5 years ago. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. All of them volunteers who had given up their old lives for this moment. "Sir, incoming transmission from Admiral Brooks," his communications officer reported. Alex nodded. "Put it through." Admiral Brooks' face appeared on the screen, his expression grim but determined. "Commander Stone, you have full authorization for unrestricted warfare. Show them why Earth's children don't break easily." "Understood, sir," Alex replied. Beginning Operation Hornet's Nest. The human ships suddenly scattered in all directions, moving in patterns that made no sense to the Zephyrians. Instead of forming battle lines or issuing challenges for honorable combat, they disappeared into the asteroid field that surrounded New Austin. "What are they doing?" Klixvar demanded. "This is no way to fight a battle." His tactical officer studied the sensors. "Sir, we're losing contact with several of their ships. They seem to be using the asteroids for cover." "Then flush them out," Klixvar ordered. "Send the 3rd Squadron to clear the asteroid field." 50 Zephyrian ships moved toward the asteroids, their weapons ready to blast apart any rocks that might hide human vessels. What they found instead was Lieutenant Commander Rachel Green waiting with a surprised. Rachel had spent 3 years studying Zephyrian tactics and technology. She knew exactly how their sensors worked, how their shields operated, and most importantly, how their commanders thought. The aliens expected enemies to fight honorably, face to face, with equal forces. Humans had never fought that way. "All ships, execute ambush pattern Delta," Rachel ordered over the secure channel. The human ships had been hiding not just behind asteroids, but inside hollowed-out rocks that had been prepared months ago. As the Zephyrian squadron approached, the rocks suddenly erupted with weapons fire from impossible angles. The aliens found themselves under attack from above, below, and all sides at once. Their shields, designed to deflect energy beams coming from the front, were overwhelmed by the coordinated assault from multiple vectors. "What is this?" The Zephyrian squadron commander broadcast in panic. "Where are they coming from?" His question was answered when Captain Ben Hill's ship, the UE's Ghost, materialized directly underneath a Zephyrian dreadnought. The human vessel had been running completely silent, using technology reverse-engineered from alien stealth systems and improved with human innovation. Ben's ship fired directly into the alien vessel's belly, where its shields were weakest. The dreadnought's reactor went critical, and the explosion took out 2 more Zephyrian ships that were flying too close in formation. Impossible! Klixvar watched his ships being destroyed by an enemy that refused to fight properly. "They're using dishonorable tactics." "Sir, we're receiving distress calls from all squadrons," his communications officer reported. "The humans are attacking our supply ships and command vessels. They're not engaging our main battle fleet at all." This was exactly what Commander Stone had planned. While the Zephyrians expected a grand battle between opposing fleets, the humans were systematically destroying everything that kept the alien fleet operational. Fuel ships, ammunition carriers, communication relays, and medical vessels all came under attack from human ships that appeared from nowhere and vanished before the aliens could respond. Captain Lisa Morgan, now commanding her own Ghost fleet vessel, led a team of boarding specialists against a Zephyrian command ship. The aliens had never encountered humans in close combat before, and they were unprepared for what they found. Zephyrians were larger and stronger than humans, but they relied on their hive mind communication to coordinate their actions. When Lisa's team used electronic warfare devices to jam their neural networks, the aliens became confused and disoriented. "They can't function without their mental link," Lisa reported over the comm system. "It's like they forget how to fight when they're isolated." Her team captured the command ship in less than an hour, taking with them vital intelligence about Zephyrian fleet movements and battle plans. More importantly, they left behind a virus in the ship's computer system that would spread to other Coalition vessels. The virus was designed by Dr. Andy Clark, a computer specialist who had studied alien programming languages for years. It didn't destroy the alien computers, but it did something worse. It made their targeting systems slightly inaccurate. Their shield generators run at 90% efficiency, and their communication systems occasionally fail at critical moments. Small problems that individually meant nothing, but together would cripple a fleet's effectiveness. As the battle continued, the Zephyrians realized they were not fighting a conventional enemy. Human ships used the planet's gravity well to slingshot themselves into attack positions at incredible speeds. They fired weapons that the alien sensors couldn't track properly. They attacked vital systems instead of trying to destroy ships outright. "This is not warfare," Klixvar said, watching another of his squadrons get ambushed. This is how humans fight," his tactical officer replied, having accessed the captured intelligence reports from previous border skirmishes. "They don't follow our rules because they never agreed to them." The Battle of New Austin lasted 18 hours. When it was over, the mighty Zephyrian First Fleet had been reduced to fewer than 60 ships. The survivors fled in disorder, their formation broken, and their morale shattered. Human losses were minimal. 7 ships damaged, none destroyed, and fewer than 100 casualties. But the real victory was not in the numbers. It was in the recordings that spread across the galaxy's communication networks. Every species that had ever faced the Coalition in honorable battle watched in amazement as a young race showed them a completely different way to fight. For the first time in centuries, someone had defeated a Coalition fleet not through superior technology or numbers, but through tactics that the aliens couldn't understand or counter. The galaxy began to whisper a new name with respect and fear: humanity. And in the depths of space, more human ships were already moving to their next targets. The lesson had only just begun. News of the First Fleet's destruction reached the Zephyrian home world within hours. The Coalition High Council gathered in emergency session, their mandibles clicking in disbelief as they watched the battle recordings from New Austin. "This cannot be accurate," declared Supreme Commander Vex Thul, the oldest member of the council. "No species fights this way. It violates every principle of honorable warfare." "The recordings are verified," replied Intelligence Chief Morcax. "The humans destroyed 400 of our ships using only 30 of their own. They employed tactics we have never encountered before." The council chamber erupted in angry clicks and hisses. For 3,000 years, the Coalition had ruled through superior numbers and traditional tactics. Every species they had conquered fought according to the same basic principles: honor, formation combat, and respect for military hierarchy. Humans apparently followed none of these rules. "Deploy the second and third fleets," Vex Thul ordered. 800 ships should be more than enough to crush these insects. But the Coalition was not fighting alone anymore. Word had spread to their allies across the sector. The crystalline hegemony, ruled by silicon-based beings who lived for thousands of years, offered their support. The Void Singers, energy beings, who could manipulate space itself, also pledged ships to the cause. Within a week, over 1,500 alien vessels were moving toward human space, representing 3 of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. Admiral Sarah Lewis received the intelligence reports aboard her flagship, the U.E.'s Phantom. Officially, Sarah had died in a transport accident 2 years ago. In reality, she had been chosen to command humanity's most classified military unit, the Ghost Fleet. 1,500 ships, her first officer, Captain Roy Barnes, said quietly. "That's more than we've ever faced before." Sarah studied the tactical display, watching the alien fleets converge on human territory. "They're making the same mistake as the Zephyrians. They think this is about numbers." The Ghost Fleet was different from regular human forces. These ships were built in secret facilities, using technology that officially didn't exist. Every vessel was equipped with experimental weapons and crewed by volunteers who had undergone psychological conditioning to function in complete isolation. "Begin Phase 2 operations," Sarah ordered. "It's time to introduce our new friends to some very old human concepts." Dr. Andy Clark had been working around the clock since the war began. His team of scientists and engineers had one job: develop weapons specifically designed to counter each alien species. They had studied every piece of biological data, every cultural report, and every psychological profile available. "The crystallines are silicon-based," Andy explained to his team. "Their exoskeletons can be shattered by specific sonic frequencies. The Void Singers exist as pure energy most of the time, but they're vulnerable to electromagnetic interference." His laboratory had become a weapon factory, producing devices that no galactic treaty had ever thought to ban. Chemical weapons that affected alien nervous systems without harming humans. Sonic weapons that could drive entire crews insane. Biological agents that targeted specific DNA sequences. "Are we sure about this?" asked Dr. Lisa Wang, his second in command. "Some of these weapons are extreme. The aliens want to wipe out our entire species," Andy replied. "Extreme is exactly what we need." Meanwhile, Captain Nicole White commanded the stealth destroyer U.E.'s Shadow, one of the most advanced ships in the Ghost Fleet. Her mission was simple: infiltrate enemy formations and plant surprises. The Shadow could become nearly invisible to alien sensors by using a combination of stealth technology and psychological warfare. The ship would appear on enemy screens as a piece of space debris, a communication satellite, or even another alien vessel. Nicole's crew had perfected the art of infiltration. They would slip into the middle of enemy fleets, plant devices on alien ships, and disappear before anyone noticed. The devices were Dr. Clark's creations, small machines that would turn the aliens' own weapons against them. "Target the crystalline flagship," Nicole ordered as her ship approached the enemy fleet. "Plant the resonance device and get out." The Feu device attached to the alien ship's hull without being detected. Hours later, when the crystallines tried to fire their main weapons, the resonance device would activate, sending sonic waves through their ship's crystal structure. The resulting vibrations would shatter their exoskeletons and drive the survivors into madness, but the real terror began when the combined alien fleet encountered Admiral Lewis and the main Ghost Fleet near the outer colonies. The aliens expected another conventional battle, with clear battle lines and honorable single combat. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that had studied every aspect of their psychology and turned it into a weapon. The Void Singers, who existed as energy beings, suddenly found their quantum frequencies being disrupted by human jamming devices. Unable to maintain their energy forms, they were forced into solid matter, where they were vulnerable to conventional weapons. The crystalline ships discovered that their perfect formations were actually a weakness. Human weapons designed to create chain reactions would shatter one crystal ship, sending fragments into neighboring vessels at high velocity. What had been a strength for centuries became a fatal flaw. The Zephyrians, meanwhile, faced weapons that attacked their hive mind directly. Human ships broadcast signals that overloaded their neural networks, causing confusion and panic among crews that had never learned to function as individuals. "This is not warfare," transmitted the crystalline fleet commander. "This is slaughter." "No," Admiral Lewis replied over the open channel. "This is what happens when you threaten our children." The battle became a demonstration of human military doctrine, total war with no concept of acceptable losses for the enemy. Every alien weakness was exploited ruthlessly. Every cultural taboo was ignored. Every rule of engagement was broken. Captain Ben Hill led a boarding party that captured a Void Singer command ship by using electromagnetic nets to trap the energy beings in solid forms. Once solid, the ancient creatures discovered they were no match for humans trained in close combat. The captured aliens provided intelligence about fleet movements, communication codes, and battle plans. More importantly, they revealed the locations of coalition supply bases and civilian populations. "Sir," Ben reported to Admiral Lewis, "we have the coordinates for their main supply depot. It's lightly defended." "Destroy it," Lewis ordered without hesitation. "Cut off their supplies and watch their fleet fall apart." The attack on the supply depot introduced the galaxy to another human concept: total war against an enemy's ability to fight. The aliens had always followed rules that protected non-military targets. Humans had no such limitations when fighting. For survival. Within days, the mighty combined fleet found itself stranded without fuel, ammunition, or food. Ships that had never known defeat were reduced to desperate raiders, trying to survive. The survivors who managed to escape carried a message that spread to every corner of the Kamur galaxy. Humanity was not just dangerous in battle. They were dangerous in ways that civilized species had never imagined. The galaxy began to understand that some creatures, when pushed to extinction, don't just fight back. They evolve into something more terrifying than anything their enemies could have prepared. For and humanity was just getting started. The final battle began when the remaining coalition forces, desperate and enraged, decided to attack Earth itself. 2,000 ships from dozens of species converged on the Sol system, believing that threatening humanity's home world would force them to surrender. Klixvar, one of the few surviving Zephyrian commanders, led the massive fleet. His once proud armor was scratched and dented, his compound eyes dim with exhaustion. The humans had destroyed everything he thought he knew about warfare. "This ends now," he broadcast to his fleet. "We will reduce their home world to ash and show the galaxy what happens to species that refuse to know their place." But as the alien armada approached Earth, they discovered that the Sol system had been transformed into something they had never seen before. What appeared to be civilian mining stations suddenly revealed massive weapon arrays. Asteroid processing facilities opened up to reveal battleship-class vessels. The moon itself bristled with defensive installations that had been hidden in plain sight. General Linda Foster coordinated Earth's defense from Luna Base, a facility that the aliens had dismissed as a simple research station. In reality, it was the command center for the most sophisticated defense network in known space. "All stations report ready," her tactical officer announced. "The web is active." The web was humanity's greatest secret. For 50 years, every major construction project in the Sol system had served a dual purpose. Solar collectors that could be converted to directed energy weapons. Communication satellites that were actually sensor networks. Space elevators that housed vertical launch missile systems. The alien fleet found itself flying not into a simple star system, but into a carefully designed trap that had been decades in the making. "Begin the demonstration," General Foster ordered quietly. What followed changed the galaxy's understanding of what was possible in warfare. The human defense network didn't just fight the alien fleet. It dissected it with surgical precision, targeting specific systems on each ship rather than trying to destroy them outright. Captain Roy Carter, commanding a desperate Zephyrian assault group, watched in horror as human weapons disabled his engines without destroying his ship. Around him, hundreds of alien vessels found themselves crippled and helpless, floating dead in space. "Why aren't they finishing us?" he asked his remaining crew. The answer came in the form of a broadcast from Earth. Ambassador John Carter, the same diplomat who had tried so hard for peace, appeared on every alien ship's communication system. "To the forces attacking our home," John said calmly, "you came here to show us our place in the galaxy. Instead, you have shown us yours." Around the trapped alien fleet, more human ships appeared. These weren't the Ghost Fleet vessels or the hidden defense platforms. These were new ships, sleek and deadly, built using technology that had been reverse-engineered and improved from every alien system humanity had ever encountered. "For years, we tried to find peaceful solutions," John continued. "We offered trade, cooperation, and friendship. You responded with threats, demands, and war. You wanted to see what a young species could do when cornered. Now you know." Admiral Brooks appeared beside John on the transmission. "Every weapon you brought against us, we studied. Every tactic you used, we improved upon. Every weakness you showed us, we remembered." The demonstration continued as human ships systematically disabled the alien fleet without killing their crews. It was a display of precision and control that proved humanity could have destroyed them all, but chose not to. "You see," John explained, "the difference between your species and ours is not technology or numbers, it's philosophy. You fight to prove your superiority. We fight to survive. You follow ancient rules of honor. We do whatever it takes to protect our families." Dr. Susan Collins transmitted technical data to the alien ships, showing them exactly how their own technology had been dissected and rebuilt. Energy weapons that could pierce any known shielding. Stealth systems that made ships truly invisible. Biological weapons that could target specific DNA sequences. "We could have used any of these against your home worlds," she announced. "We chose not to because we are not monsters. But make no mistake, we have the capability." The alien commanders listened in stunned silence as humanity revealed the true extent of their preparations. Hidden shipyards that could produce vessels faster than any known industrial facility. Weapons that violated every galactic treaty because humanity had never agreed to those treaties. Military doctrines that turned every human civilian into a potential soldier. Captain Nicole White, commanding the U.E.'s Shadow, transmitted from the heart of the alien formation. Her ship had been there for hours, undetected, carrying enough firepower to cripple the entire fleet. "We've been among you all along," she said simply. "We've been listening to your communications, studying your tactics, learning your weaknesses. If we had wanted you dead, you would be dead." The psychological impact was devastating. Species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia suddenly realized they had been completely outmaneuvered by a race they had considered primitive. But the real message came when John Carter addressed the galaxy directly, broadcasting on every communication frequency in known space. "To every species watching this," he said, "humanity offers the same choice we offered the Coalition: peace, trade, and mutual cooperation. We would prefer to explore the stars together, to share knowledge and build something greater than any of us could achieve alone." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "But if you choose war, if you threaten our people or our worlds, you will face the same fate as those who attacked us today. We are not the weak, young species you thought we were. We are the descendants of survivors who climbed from the bottom of our world's food chain. We learned to cooperate when possible and fight when necessary." Around Earth, the disabled alien ships began receiving rescue signals. Human medical ships approached to offer aid to wounded crews. Food and water were provided to vessels whose life support had been damaged. "This is who we are," John concluded. "We will help our enemies when they are defeated, but we will not hesitate to defeat them if they threaten us." In the weeks that followed, the survivors returned to their home worlds, carrying a message that spread throughout the galaxy. Humanity was not just dangerous in war. They were dangerous in ways that ancient civilizations couldn't understand or predict. The Zephyrian Coalition formally surrendered. The Crystalline Hegemony requested a peace treaty. The Void Singers withdrew to their distant realms and refused all contact with younger species, but most importantly, dozens of smaller species that had lived in fear of the great powers suddenly saw hope. If humanity could stand against the Coalition and win, perhaps the galaxy's balance of power could change. Ambassador John Carter returned to his role as a diplomat, but now he spoke from a position of strength. No alien delegation ever again dismissed humanity as weak or inexperienced. They had learned that when diplomacy failed with humans, the only remaining option was to pray for mercy. And sometimes, if they were very lucky, they might receive it. The galaxy had a new rule, whispered in every spaceport and diplomatic gathering: never corner a human. They had evolved from predators, and that heritage never truly disappeared. The stars belonged to everyone now, but humanity had made it clear they would decide who was worthy to share them.